Hey, it's Maximo and welcome to Maximo's Travels. Today, folks, is Temple Day. We're in Kyoto. We get up super early and visit not one, not two, but three of Kyoto's most famous temples. We go to a very iconic Starbucks. We finish our trek for the day at Nishiki Market and have some fabulous treats and some fantastic seafood. Join me on this culturally rich video. We woke up fairly early in the morning to beat the heat and the crowds and got in our first and only taxi on our Japanese trip and headed to the famous Kiyomizu-dera Temple. If you've never been in a Japanese taxi, it's an experience in itself. The temple's located on the top of the hill and the taxi was able to drop us off at the bottom of the Ninenzaka Pass. This pass is only about 200 meters long and it takes you to the entrance of the temple. It was quite a short distance from our hotel at Kyoto Station to the temple. A distance of about 3.5 kilometers, and it only took about 10 minutes to get to. The taxi ride was around about 1,300 yen or about 14 Australian dollars. It didn't take us long to walk up the hill and to the entrance of the temple. This is a far easier route to take than quite the long walk up the steep hill from the nearest railway station. It was around about 7:30 in the morning, so there weren't many people around and most of the shops were closed, so it was pretty quiet. The temple opens at 6 a.m. every day and closes at various times during the year, but generally closes at least 6 p.m. Check the website for details of the opening and closing times. There are special extended hours in summer and spring, so if you want to go to a sunset, check out those times. The first thing you see when you get there is the steps leading up to the Neomon gate or front entrance. It was built around 1469 and refurbished around 1500 after a fire. The temple complex is quite large. There's more than 30 different structures on the site and it covers 35,000 square meters, a very large area, and you'd need to set aside at least an hour and a half to 2 hours to do the place justice. Fantastic vantage point from the top of the stairs and the main entrance gate. And once you get to the very top of the flight of stairs, the complex opens up into a fairly broad plateau, which feature quite a tall pagoda as well as a number of different halls that make up the complex. Just past the gate is the admission booth. Admission to the complex was only 400 yen, an absolute bargain given the cultural significance of the place. Further along the plateau you'll find the West Gate. This was built in 1633 and that is protected by sacred water and a dragon that protects the water. Kiyomizu-dera literally means pure water temple. It's one of the most celebrated temples in the whole of Japan. It was found in about 780 on the site of a waterfall in the wooded hills east of Kyoto. The name is derived from the water's very pure qualities. You make your way past the admission booth and you're standing on the Hondo or the main hall. This is one of the most iconic sites in the whole of Japan. It's truly stunning. It's not until you view the temple from the side that you realize how spectacular it is. It's sitting on a very steep hill and its platform is about 15 meters above the ground level. It's a little bit deceiving because the first thing you see is the inside of the Great Hall and you get to observe the Buddhist traditions and practices. The Great Hall is a very impressive old wooden building, but the view you get from the temple on the side is truly stunning, spectacular. That's the money shot. It's such an iconic vision of Kyoto with a Kyoto Tower in the distance and the hills and the rest of Kyoto spread out. It's an absolute Kyoto must-see, and if you go there early you can beat the crowds and take some really fantastic photos and videos. We reluctantly finished our tour of the main halls at the top of the hill and made our way down the twisting path to the rest of the temple complex. We came across this pagoda. It was called the Pagoda for Easy Childbirth. A lot of expectant mothers would come here and pray for, well, an easy childbirth. It's also a fantastic vantage point to see the main hall and pagodas on the top of the hill. Absolutely stunning views, and you don't really appreciate the scale until you can view that at a distance. A little bit further along the path is the Ochawa waterfall. I guess that's the whole point of the temple in the first place. The waterfall has been built out, and you're left with three streams of water that visitors are supposed to catch the water from one of the streams with a ladle and then wash their hands with it and pray for their wishes to come true and for purification. And it's not until you're in the valley floor looking up at the Great Hall that you really appreciate just the scale and majesty of the huge wooden structure. There's also a huge brick or rock wall that supports some of the halls on top of the hill as well. Just around the corner from the big wall is a huge ornamental lake that's very, very tranquil, and that basically marks the end of the loop trail around the temple complex. The temple complex was truly stunning. I think it's probably one of the biggest highlights of the trip that we had, and I'll carry the memories of visiting this place for quite a long time. We left the temple complex and made our way down the Ninenzaka path. It was about 9 a.m. and most of the shops were open, and there was considerably more people about, and it should be noted most of those people were walking uphill towards the temple, not downhill and away from it. It was quite interesting wandering through the old streets with their wooden houses and many shops selling everything from samurai swords to foodstuffs and kimonos and other artisan products. The further down the hill we walked, the hotter and the more crowded it became. But it wasn't long until we got to our next destination, the Starbucks. This Starbucks is truly unique. It's set in a very old house in the area. The house would have to be a couple of centuries old, and it's very traditional inside. So you walk in, you order your coffee, and then you try and find a seat within the house. Finding a seat was easier said than done. The Starbucks wasn't very large. It was basically probably a 3-bedroom house, and there were quite a lot of people in here given the iconic status of the place. There were a number of chairs and also tatami mats to sit on, but we found that people were hogging the tables and the tatami mats, and it took us a while to find somewhere to sit. But it was cool, and we enjoyed a iced coffee. We continued walking down the hill until we came to a vantage point that overlooked the Yasaka Pagoda. This is about 750 metres away and only a 10-minute or so walk. It's a very iconic spot to get a breathtaking view of the pagoda. This 5-story pagoda is the last remaining structure of the Hōkan-ji Temple complex. Unfortunately, we would have liked to have gone inside, but the pagoda was closed. Oh well, we'll have to come another time, I guess. We went into a few of the artisan shops, and just across the road from the pagoda was this stunning shop that sold bright cobalt blue crockery. You could even learn to make pottery from there. Joe bought a couple of items from here. We continued walking downhill in the Higashiyama District and made our way to our next destination. There was plenty of things to see and do, and we stopped every so often and took heaps of pictures of all sorts of things, including plants, shops and different signs. Our next stop was around 600 meters and about a 10-minute walk downhill, and it was called Yasaka Jinja, otherwise known as the Gion Shrine. This shrine has a fantastically colourful front entrance gate and features quite a large inner sanctuary comprising of many different large halls. There is no admission for this shrine complex, and it's always open, it never closes. There's quite a few tourists that come in here, and it's really conveniently located between the Higashiyama District and the Gion District. The shrine complex also has quite extensive gardens, which we didn't visit because it was just getting too hot. And we left the tranquility and peacefulness of the sanctuary to the hustle and bustle of Kyoto. We left the shrine and started walking towards Nishiki Market through the beautiful streets of Gion. The Nishiki Market was around 1.3 kilometers and a 20-minute walk from the shrine complex. We walked past the river and eventually came to the Nishiki Market. The market isn't a building, but rather it's a series of streets that are covered with multicoloured glass or perspex. It covers quite a few blocks, and there's so many different shops and eateries in the market. It's fascinating just seeing what was there. We strolled around and had a look for something to eat for lunch. So what do we have here, Joe?
Daifuku.
Daifuku, and there's a strawberry.
Mochi, red bean paste inside.
Right, okay.
We have a smooth red bean paste.
All right. Let's give this a go. Strawberry's very sweet.
Yes, isn't it?
Mm. Mm. I can see the red bean paste.
They're really weighty, aren't they?
They are. Mm. What's wrong?
You've got a bit of a, flour around you.
Oh dear.
It's probably rice flour.
Mm. It's interesting. Mm. Quite drying on the mouth, aren't they? Mm. This place is so huge. It's packed, utterly packed. There's so many stalls. Might try some seafood in a minute. These are delicious.
What have you got there?
I have a chicken skewer. It's just been seared, it's still steaming. I'll give it a go. Hot. Really juicy, really nice, very tender, expertly cooked. A very light teriyaki flavour, I think. Superb.
A few moments later.
So this is the next stop for Maximo, because 2 isn't enough.
No. So this is a skewer of grilled scallop in a soy sauce. And about this time, my GoPro decided to pack the audio in. Audio from this point on was unusable, so I've replaced that under warranty, and also the media mud was replaced under warranty. But I can tell you that the scallops were delicious and juicy, a very delicate flavour, teriyaki sauce, humongous and very, very tasty. Next to arrive was the biggest, juiciest, tastiest, most delicately flavoured oyster I've ever had in my life. It was absolutely superb. It was almost a meal in itself. I washed the seafood down with an ice-cold Japanese beer. What a perfect meal. We finished up at the market and rode the subway back to our hotel at Kyoto Station. It was a long, hot and tiring day, and it was utterly fabulous. I do hope you've liked this video. If so, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons, and hit that notify bell to be notified of my future videos. If you'd like to support my channel, please consider buying me a coffee. And until our next Japanese adventure, take care and bye.